All right, today we're going to talk about sharks. Sharks are pretty cool. Some people are scared of sharks. Some people aren't, obviously. And we're going to talk about why they're important, why you should care about them, and what kind of effect they have on your lives that you might not know about. Here's three pretty famous types of sharks: bull sharks in the top left, hammerheads top or bottom left, and great white in the top right. In Florida, you're mostly going to be dealing with bull sharks and hammerheads. Pretty common all around here. Great whites, not so much. Here's some weird sharks. Got a frill shark in the top left corner, wobbegong in the top right. They're both pretty weird, but they're not as weird as that goblin shark in the bottom left. That thing is just weird. Jaws come all the way out to snatch stuff. It's pretty crazy. Don't really want to deal with any of those just because they're weird. But here, what we're going to talk about right now is why you should care. Sharks have had a big effect on all of our lives. You might not realize it, but it comes in and they just do. They come up in all types of our culture, such as Shark Week and movies. And Shark Week, I feel, has been usually pretty good. I'm glad it's gotten popular. It brings a lot of awareness to shark conservation. And they generally do a good job, except for when they put stuff on there like that Megalodon show. I'm looking at you. That was pretty bad. That was all false. Giant tourism industry for cage diving or free diving with sharks. They'll feed them. It's actually a pretty big deal. Not so much in the U.S. There's some shark diving in South Florida, but that's about it. But otherwise, it brings in a good bit of money. And then you're going to interact with sharks in your lives. If you're like me, in the left, you're going to do it on purpose in the name of science and an adrenaline rush and just trying to have fun. But if you ever go to the beach, you're going to be pretty much like the top right. That's going to happen to you at some point, and you'll probably never notice. But to explain why else you should care, we're going to have to talk about a few topics that are pretty complex. I'm going to try and keep it simple and make it actually make sense. Go through them, these three, very quickly, just so I can explain the impact of sharks on your lives and your impact on them. So first off, we're going to talk about carrying capacity. The environment, it could be a single reef, a bay, an ocean, doesn't really matter. But there's a cap on how much biomass that a specific environment can support, especially when it comes to a single species. Here's a simplified food chain. Pretty much makes sense. Little fish gets eaten by big fish, gets eaten by bigger fish, gets eaten by sharks. Nothing really preys on sharks except for bigger sharks and us. Otherwise, this is pretty simple. It's more complex than this, but every piece of this matters. Natural selection. Sharks are the ones preying on other fish. But a lot of the time, they want easy meals. That's one reason, like where I showed you that shark swimming next to that guy. He's not going to bite him because he's not an easy meal. So they're taking the weakest possible fish out of the population, so the population ends up stronger. Now that we understand that, at least a little bit, this is what we're going to talk about. We impact sharks a lot. They impact their environment a lot. And it definitely is going to end up affecting us if we keep going the way we're going. So what we're doing, top right or top left, is a bunch of shark fins. As a species, people are killing sharks every year, a lot, using long lines, nets, whatever we catch them with, just to take their fins. They end up getting dumped back in the water too. Yeah, more than 100 million every single year. It's not a sustainable rate of harvest. It's not good. And without sharks, that little piece of the food chain is going to be gone. On carrying capacity, there's always a little bit of overshoot that gets taken off. But this is what you end up with. When you overshoot carrying capacity by so much, you end up with massive die-offs. And normally it'll just go over a little bit. It's not a big deal. But when you take out a predator, the prey species population goes out of control, and ends up like this as well. You keep going down the chain. As each thing dies off, you end up with stuff like this. And it's not good, but this is all, nothing can live in this. This is disgusting. It's awful. Ruins all your favorite beach spots, which isn't as important. And it's just an example. Once you start taking out pieces of a food chain, ends up collapsing. Live reef, dead reef, you end up with nothing. The ripple effects just of taking out just sharks are awful. And then it's going to affect you too. Without sharks, your seafood prices are going to go through the roof because of all those die-offs, because of everything else going on. And your sushi is going to get really expensive, which I love sushi, and it's not a good thing if that happens. Seafood industry brings about $90 billion to the U.S. economy every year. Population crashes, that affects actual people who can no longer go fish. So people are losing their jobs, you're crashing a major part of the U.S. economy, and that's not even a fraction of the global economy on it. So sharks are very important. We love them. And you should care about them. It's going to affect you, I promise. Even on some small level, even if it's just an interaction, it doesn't matter. It will affect you.